Rapture watchers try to avoid the embarrassment of date fails by couching their predictions in a season as a longer time frame. We can't know the hour, they say, but we can know the season. And invariably, every single one of them, every single year, proclaims as a matter of certainty that this is the season. It was the season in 1844 when the Millerites were so excited. Then it was the season in the late 1800s. Then it was the season in the apocalyptic landscape of World War I. Oh, Rapture watchers went crazy when Damascus fell to the British in the Great War. Then it was the season in the Great Depression when Social Security numbers were the mark of the beast. Then it was the season in the 1940s when Hitler was the Antichrist. Then it was the season of the fig tree generation. Then it was the season of 6,000 years at Y2K. In every single one of those decades, Rapture watchers boldly proclaimed as a matter of absolute fact that they knew it was the season. And if you couldn't see it, you were lukewarm. When one season passed and another began, they said this time is different because now all the prophecies are fulfilled and now the birth pangs are accelerating and now we're in the final minutes. Another decade passes, another season fails. The watchers move on to the next season, and now it's different this time because now all the prophecies are fulfilled and now the birth pangs are accelerating. Another decade passes, another season fails, the watchers move on to a new season, and now this time is different because now it's all fulfilled. Watchers have recycled all of those talking points every single decade for the past 200 years. And since these colossally cringy failures are diffused over a decade, they think it somehow doesn't count as a failed prediction. There are people watching this video right now, presently thinking to themselves, yes, but they had it all wrong back then, and now we really do see the prophecies happening. You guys have said that with equal conviction and equally animated voices, crying your tears and talking of your dreams so many times in the past. You have proven to the rest of us that you will say those words no matter what's going on. You have exhausted and drained those words until they are devoid of all meaning. Couching your wrong predictions in seasons over days has not made you any less tiresome. The season of Rapture seemed to be a slam dunk back around 2015 or so. The fig tree era was nearing 70 years. Antichrist Obama had blown up the Middle East. The blood moons and the constellations were screaming from the sky. For a fun trip down memory lane, you can see born-again barbarian smugly rebuke the date setters of 2015 while affirming that the rapture was indeed getting close in 2015. Brother Chooch of TOL started his YouTube channel in the summer of 2016. This is him many years ago telling us the time of the rapture has indeed drawn nigh. And this is him telling us 3 years ago that the rapture will not tarry. That particular message was well received as confirmation 3 years ago because it was the season. Chooch rode the wave of Scotty Clark's Revelation 12 sign and the lockdowns of 2020 and the red heifers to build himself a channel. Rapture watching content was easy to come by. All he had to say was, Rapture coming soon because we're in the season, and thousands of ravenous content watchers came pouring in. Of course, he got the occasional rebuke from those who insisted it could not be more than 6 months away. But most of the people in his audience just mindlessly tuned in for a dose of hopium. Last year's Hamas attack on Israel seemed to be the cherry on top, and everyone was quite convinced the rapture would happen in a matter of days. A full week later, when the vampires asked what was taking so long, Chooch relied on the geopolitics of warfare to buy himself more time. He said the war may take a few months to unfold, pushing the rapture all the way into that distant future of spring 2024. But a full year later, we're still here. The eclipse gave us nothing. Milton gave us nothing. Feast of Trumpets added up to nothing. 7 years have now passed since Scotty Clark's Revelation 12 sign. Rapturist arithmetic is dismayed yet again. With another so-called season in the rearview mirror, Chooch has to find a new narrative. What a coincidence that he offered this to his audience on October 13th. Chooch prepared his audience for another reset of the watching season, which potentially adds more years, possibly up to another decade. He reminded them how some had been watching since the 1980s. So in the scope of 40-something years, a few more years is not that long. See, the Bible says you have to wait a little while, and that's for us right now. The rapture is coming in a little while for us. That Bible passage was absolutely useless to any Christian who read it for 2,000 years until we came along, because we are the ones who will be raptured in a little while, since we can know we're in the season. So even though Chooch is now telling you the season has a reset, and you're possibly looking at years, in the big scheme of things, a few years is still soon. Yes, I kid you not, that was his message. Some in his audience said this so-called encouragement was too depressing. Others held out hope that they were still in the final moments. Knowing this message would not be well received by the rapture cult, Chooch returned to throw them a bone of a rapture possibility in the final weeks of 2024. He admitted it was technically possible to keep the hopium alive while preparing his audience for the greater likelihood of more years to go. And many in his audience were absolutely furious. How dare you bring us this discouragement? I'm not waiting for 2025. I'll get myself out of here one way or another. One faction broke down into a tantrum, while another faction stubbornly maintained the delusion that they will not see November. This is the fruit of so-called season setting. Whether you're predicting an hour, a day, a week, or a decade makes no difference in the end. Sooner or later, that season will be over, and it'll be time to pay the piper. When reality sets in that your season was wrong, the disappointment is just as painful, maybe even more so, than a failed day. Season setters drive their audience to suicidal despair just as much as any date setter. Here is my prediction for the rest of 2024. Chooch's audience will spend the next several weeks getting their hopium from other better watchmen who are short-term date setters. Then in January 25, when all hope is finally lost of 2024, they will reluctantly move on to the next year's holiday cycle, continuing to insist that it's going to be this year because they know they're in the season, and the beat goes on.